There was a philosophy born more than 2,000 years ago, in the ancient city of Athens. It wasn't created to make people rich, it wasn't created to make people powerful, and it certainly wasn't created to make people emotionless. It was created around a much more difficult question. How should a human being live when life doesn't go according to plan? This philosophy became known as Stoicism. And before we talk about what Stoicism means today, it's worth remembering the people who carried this philosophy through history. Zeno of Citium founded the Stoic school in Athens around the early 3rd century BCE. Centuries later, some of the most influential Stoic thinkers included Lucius Annaeus Seneca, better known as Seneca the Younger, Epictetus, who taught that our freedom begins with understanding what is and isn't within our control, and Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, the Roman emperor whose private reflections became one of the most famous works of Stoic philosophy, Meditations. They lived very different lives. Seneca was a statesman and writer. Epictetus was born into slavery and eventually became a teacher. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. Different circumstances, different struggles, but they all return to the same fundamental question. How can we live well, regardless of what life puts in front of us? So, what is Stoicism? At its heart, Stoicism is a philosophy of living with wisdom, courage, self-control, and virtue, while accepting that many things in life are outside our control. The Stoics didn't believe a good life meant having everything you want. They believed a good life meant becoming the kind of person who can face whatever happens, without losing their character. That's an important distinction. Stoicism doesn't say, don't feel anything. It says, don't let every feeling control your actions. It doesn't say, don't care about people. It says, care deeply, but understand that you cannot control everything about them. And it doesn't say, never experience pain. It says, pain is part of life. Your character is revealed by how you meet it. So let's break this philosophy down into its core principles. 1. Focus on what you can control. This is one of the most important ideas in Stoicism. Some things belong to you. Your choices, your actions, your effort, your judgments, your response. Other things don't. The past, other people's opinions, whether someone loves you, whether you get the job, whether someone stays, whether life gives you exactly what you expected. Imagine sending someone a message and they don't reply. You can't control their response, but you can control whether you spend the entire night checking your phone. That's Stoic thinking. Control your response, not the entire world. 2. Live with virtue. For the Stoics, success wasn't simply about money, status, pleasure, or recognition. The most important thing was virtue, the quality of your character. Classical Stoicism emphasized 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, knowing what is truly important; courage, doing what is right even when it's difficult; justice, treating others fairly; and temperance, practicing self-control and knowing when enough is enough. You can lose money, you can lose status, you can lose someone's approval, but your character is something you continue to build through your choices. That's why the Stoics would ask, not just, did I succeed, but, did I act well? 3. Accept reality. One of the biggest sources of human suffering is fighting against reality. We say, this shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have left. I shouldn't have failed. My life should have been different. But reality doesn't change because we dislike it. Stoicism teaches acceptance. Not passive acceptance, not giving up, but recognizing reality as it is, so you can respond intelligently. This connects beautifully with Amor Fati, the Stoic idea of loving your fate. You may not have chosen the situation you're in, but now that you're here, what will you do with it? 4. Remember that life is temporary. This is Memento Mori. Remember that you will die. The The Stoics didn't use death simply as something frightening. They used it as a reminder. Because we behave as if we have unlimited time. We postpone conversations. We postpone dreams. We postpone living. Memento Mori asks you to remember, your time is limited, so stop wasting it on things that don't deserve your life. Spend time with people you love. Do meaningful work. Say what needs to be said. Appreciate ordinary moments. Because one day, one of those ordinary moments will be your last, and you won't know which one it is. 5. Prepare for difficulty. The Stoics also practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the practice of imagining possible difficulties before they happen. Not to become pessimistic, to become prepared. What if the plan fails? What if you get rejected? What if the relationship ends? What if the opportunity disappears? The goal isn't to sit around expecting disaster. The goal is to remind yourself, life is unpredictable. If something goes wrong, I will deal with it. That mindset creates resilience. You're no longer saying, nothing bad will happen. You're saying, whatever happens, I will meet it with reason and courage. 6. Don't depend on external things for your peace. The Stoics understood something incredibly important. Anything outside your control is unstable. Money can disappear, status can disappear, relationships can change, people can leave. Your reputation can change overnight. If your entire identity depends on these things, your peace becomes fragile. Stoicism encourages you to build your foundation somewhere deeper. Your values, your decisions, your character, your principles. Because the world can take away many things, but it cannot force you to become a person you don't respect. 7. Practice the philosophy. And finally, Stoicism isn't something you simply learn, it's something you practice. You can read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You can study the writings of Seneca. You can learn from the teachings of Epictetus. You can watch hundreds of videos about Stoic philosophy. But none of it matters if you lose control the moment someone insults you. The philosophy becomes real when life tests you. Someone disappoints you? Practice acceptance. You fail? Practice resilience. Someone criticizes you? Look honestly at what you can learn. Something goes wrong? Ask, what is within my control? That's Stoicism, not perfection. Practice, every single day. The real purpose of Stoicism. After everything we've discussed, Stoicism becomes surprisingly simple. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can control how you respond. You cannot prevent every loss, but you can choose how you live before the loss arrives. You cannot guarantee success, but you can act with courage and discipline. You cannot make everyone love you, but you can become someone you respect. And you cannot stop time, but you can stop wasting it. That's why Stoicism has survived for more than 2,000 years. Because human beings are still dealing with the same fundamental problems: fear, love, loss, failure, success, anger, death. The world has changed, but human nature hasn't changed nearly as much. And perhaps that's what Stoic philosophy ultimately teaches us. Life will always contain things you cannot control. Your job isn't to control life. Your job is to become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more virtuous in the way you meet it.